y Andrew.
That's totally normal. Setting goals can be tricky. What kind of goals are you working on right now?
Well, mostly personal stuff like trying to lose some weight and also learning a new language.
Those are great goals. But first, let's make sure your goals are SMART specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. It helps keep them clear and actionable.
That sounds like a good start. So, how do I make my goals more specific?
For example, instead of just lose weight, you could set it as lose 10 pounds in the next 3 months by working out 3 times a week and eating healthier meals. See how that's more specific? And you can measure your progress weekly.
Got it. What about making them achievable? I don't want to bite off more than I can chew.
Yeah, that's key. You could break down the 10 pounds into smaller goals like losing 2 pounds each month or even 1 pound per week. That way, you're not overwhelmed and can celebrate small wins along the way. Now, back to your language goal. Learning a new language is huge. Breaking it down might help. Could be something like learn 10 new words every day for 2 weeks or complete 1 chapter of my Spanish textbook each week.
That's a lot easier to manage. I think I can handle the daily word goal.
Perfect. Now, let's talk about making them relevant and time-bound. It helps keep you motivated if your goals align with what's important for you right now. And having a deadline makes it feel more real.
Yeah, like pass my French exam by August or something like that.
Exactly. That gives you a clear end date. And remember, the key is to review and adjust your goals as needed. Life can be unpredictable.
True, but I guess it's better than not having anything at all.
Absolutely. You've got this, Andrew. Just take things one step at a time and keep pushing forward. Good luck with those goals.
Thanks, Ava. I'm feeling more confident already. Let's catch up soon to check on my progress.
Definitely. Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll talk about ways to stay motivated. Talk to you then.
Hey, Ava. Thanks so much for joining me today. I wanted to tackle something I think a lot of people struggle with: setting goals. It feels like so many people just drift, you know? What's your take on why that is?
Absolutely, Andrew. It's a massive problem. I think a huge part of it is that we often treat goals like these huge, daunting mountains we need to climb all at once, instead of breaking it down. Like, I want to be healthy is overwhelming. It's far more likely to end in burnout than sustained progress.
Totally agree. That's the big picture trap. So, how do you actually start to make a goal something achievable? It feels like the opposite of what you're saying. You need a concrete target, right?
Exactly. It's about SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. But let's unpack that. Instead of I want to write a book, which is huge, you could say, I will write 500 words a day for the next month. See the difference?
Yeah, that's a game changer. I think a lot of people focus on the outcome, the finished product, rather than the small steps needed to get there. But even with SMART goals, I find it still hard to stay motivated. Do you have any tips for that?
Definitely. Reward yourself for smaller milestones. Like, after completing that 500-word challenge, maybe treat yourself to a nice coffee or an hour of reading. Celebrate the process, not just the destination. And don't be afraid to adjust if something isn't working.
That's brilliant. I've heard people say, if it's hard, you're doing it right. But that feels a bit rigid, doesn't it? It can be paralyzing. What about when things do go wrong? When you miss a day or don't meet a mini goal?
Okay, so setbacks will happen. The key is not to beat yourself up. A missed day isn't failure. It's just a data point. Analyze why it happened, learn from it, and get back on track. Self-compassion is crucial. Plus, reevaluate the goal itself if necessary. Maybe the time frame needs adjusting.
That's a really important point, self-compassion. I think a lot of people are incredibly critical of themselves when they stumble. So, let's say someone has a vague goal, like I want to be more creative. How do you even start to make that something actionable?
Okay, be more creative is really open-ended. Let's make it, I will spend 30 minutes a week experimenting with watercolor painting. It's specific, measurable, 30 minutes, achievable, relevant to a desire for creativity, and time-bound. Even if you don't produce a masterpiece, you're engaging with the idea.
That's fantastic. It's about finding those little pockets of time and energy and just doing something. I'm curious, do you think it's better to have a few smaller, achievable goals or one massive, overwhelming goal?
Honestly, for most people, smaller goals are far more sustainable. A massive goal can feel so daunting that you avoid starting it altogether. Having a few smaller wins builds momentum and confidence. Think of it as building a staircase, not trying to leap to the top in one bound.
That makes so much sense. I'm starting to realize that it's less about the perfect goal and more about the habit of setting and pursuing goals. What about accountability? Do you find it helpful to share your goals with someone?
Absolutely. Accountability partners are incredibly powerful. Knowing someone is checking in on you creates a sense of responsibility. You could even just share your goals on social media. The public pressure can be a motivator. But make sure it's someone supportive, not judgmental.
Right, positive reinforcement. It's about finding the right support system. I'm hearing a strong emphasis on process over outcome, which is a really good reminder for everyone listening. One last thought. How do you prevent goal setting from becoming a source of anxiety?
That's key. Don't let the act of planning become stressful. View goal setting as an exciting exploration of your potential, not a test of your abilities. And remember, it's okay to change your goals. Your priorities shift, and that's perfectly normal.
Amazing advice, Ava. Thanks so much for sharing your insights with us today. I think our listeners will really benefit from this.
My pleasure, Andrew. It's all about finding what works for you. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to goal setting.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to our show. Today we're talking about setting better goals. I know a lot of us struggle with this. Ava's here to help us out. Ava.
Hey, Andrew. Thanks for having me. So, what makes you think setting better goals is something we should all be striving for?
Well, when we set good goals, we're more likely to achieve them, which leads to a sense of accomplishment and motivation. But oftentimes, our goals are vague or unrealistic, leaving us feeling stuck.
That's so true. I think a lot of people make the mistake of setting goals that are too broad or don't take into account any obstacles they might face. What's your advice for making sure our goals are specific and achievable?
First, we need to identify what it is we want to achieve. Then we should break down those big goals into smaller, manageable tasks. This helps us create a roadmap of success.
That makes sense. But what about when we set a goal that seems attainable at first, but then things don't go as planned? How do we adjust our goals on the fly?
That's where flexibility comes in. We need to be willing to adapt and pivot when circumstances change. It might mean revising our timeline or finding new ways to achieve our goal.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are too afraid to make changes. What about positive self-talk? Can that help us stay on track with our goals?
Absolutely. Our mindset plays a huge role in achieving our goals. We need to be kind and compassionate towards ourselves when we slip up, rather than beating ourselves over the head.
That's so important. Another thing I've noticed is how important it is to make our goals specific and measurable. How can we do that?
Well, we should try to set goals that are both concrete and quantifiable. For example, instead of saying I want to be healthier, say I want to lose 10 pounds in the next 3 months.
Great example. And what about accountability? Do you think having someone to report to can help us stay on track?
Oh, definitely. Having a buddy or mentor who's also working toward a similar goal can provide an added motivation and support system.
That makes total sense. One last thing I want to mention is how important it is to celebrate our small wins along the way. When we acknowledge our progress, no matter how small, it helps us stay motivated and encouraged.
Absolutely. We shouldn't forget to enjoy the journey and give ourselves credit for all the hard work we're putting in. Thanks, Ava.
No problem, Andrew. It's been a pleasure chatting with you about setting better goals.